You are watching CIO TV by Enterprise IT World, a production of Accent Infomedia.
A CIO must share, the table of business leaders with other functions. Whether it's a CEO, it is a CEO or CFO. Because unless a CIO understands the business pains and opportunities which are there, IT strategy is going to be more technical in nature.
Welcome to CIOTV.live, ladies and gentlemen. This is a production of Accent Info Media. Today, I have a reputed CIO from a EPC company. His name is Manoj Derukhakar. He is a CIO Stalin and Wilson Limited. Mr. Manoj is an IT professional with 30 years of experience across EPC, engineering, construction, real estate, utilities, automotive, and metal domains. He possesses a balanced exposure to IT consulting, CIO roles covering entire gamut of IT value chain. Mr. Manoj, welcome to CIOTV.live.
Thank you very much, and thank you for a good introduction. I must say you really picked it up very well from my background. Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right, my first question comes on your way. What kind of approach have you taken to manage, monitor your IT assets amid COVID-19? Everybody is struggling for it so far.
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think the only one word that I can use is proactiveness. And that proactiveness would mean that you must have a good business continuity policy, BCP, in place. In last 1.5 years, we have been actually working on a BCP to make sure that any kind of disaster that happens, that the organization should continue to function. Of course, I must confess that we never imagined that the pandemic would strike us with such a force and magnitude, which was unimaginable. I don't think that any BCP of any company would have actually imagined pandemic. But fortunately, all the steps that we had taken stood us, in a good measures to make sure that nothing stopped our company. So just to give you some few examples, last 1.5 years, we actually pushed mobility as a way of life in our organization, and that would mean that the laptop, the penetration in the company was very high. Most of the applications that we had introduced were mobile enabled. And we also made sure that all our servers are backed up. We moved quite a lot of IT infrastructure which was on premise on cloud, which is one thing is assured for the uptime, and there's a DR which is kind of given along with that. Same is the case was with network. So I think this was not something that just happened. It happened over a period of time. We took every segment of IT and made sure how we have a disaster planning in place, which is there, which is stand as a good strength. And let me also mention, IT security has been one of the important aspects that came up so huge, so significant during this time. There also, our entire set of initiatives for last 2 years, I think have I would say touch wood have stood as good dates at this particular point of time. So this was a very proactive, and I would say a very systematic way of making sure that there's a disaster planning which is already in place, and that helped us in pandemic.
All right, you represent a company which believes in touch and feel, engineering companies, construction company. You have to be on site. You need to see the workers there. You need to have IT workers along with you to provision, manage the front-ending people, in terms of designing, in terms of real construction, procurement, and everything. So, what has been your plan in terms of, as you mentioned, business continuity planning? So, what has been? How have you gone through it?
That's a very interesting question. Uh, See, the productivity of people, uh, what we call as a workplace productivity, or the place of manufacturing or construction productivity, is always at the heart of any IT strategy. What we are, because unless you are a totally huge transaction based company like a BFSI, which has a lot of things automated and a lot of touch points, etc., which is there. We are not in that segment. We are in a very people centric business, which is there. So people productivity is at the heart of any strategy, and IT is absolutely no difference to that entire thing which is there. So if you really see what kind of helps for people to perform better, to feel belonged, to be able to communicate, are simple tenets of collaboration. So we have been investing in collaborative technologies quite a lot, and it is not only just investment, but I think that change management for a better adoption and demonstration of the fact that you can use this tool to be able to execute your business better is, I think, is done a fantastic revolution. I would say during pandemic days, people are not able to meet and see face to face, not able to transact documents in physical form. Has anything really impacted? No, absolutely not. In fact, we are seeing a much higher productivity in pandemic days when people are actually working from a remote, remote sites, working from home, and like you and me are really, talking today without, in fact, feeling that there's a distance between us. That is a mindset change, which is so important. So, in fact, our sales team has been far more effective because clients are not expecting them to come physically. And what they would have otherwise spent the whole day traveling to a city, taking 1 hour, meeting and coming back in the evening, they can do it literally spending exactly 1 hour, which is a quality time. So I think the quality and productivity of people have gone up through this series of automation, collaboration, and very importantly, I think the instituting the controls, because with every automation and any digitization, controls become far and more important, so that processes don't really go out of control, which is there. So I think this has been the principle that we have followed to be able to get into the game, which became so real and so important during COVID days.
All right, you must have heard every day, every alternative day, there has been, ransomware attacks on various companies, even large service providers, large consulting houses have been attacked for ransomware, and for weeks together, the encryption remained and the attacker asked for the money. You said that people, workers in your organization, IT workers especially, they are working from home. So what has been your strategy in terms of security? What has been your strategy in terms of immuning your endpoint, your perimeter, everything secured, not allowing the bad eyes to enter inside?
Very important question. IT security is just not one point solution. It is everywhere and it is always changing. Your threats are coming from all, different quarters, and the horror stories which are coming in. I think what was really important is that there were three-pronged strategy that we adopted, and this all started 2 years back, which is there. So first and foremost, what we did is that we engaged one of the most premium, world's one of the best IT security consulting company, and we worked with them as as one team and did our vulnerability assessment. So we actually went segment by segment and found out what is that we need to do. And this entire finding was not a small one or two. It was a list of initiatives, which included how endpoint like laptop or a desktop will be protected versus how your firewalls are going to be protected, how your network is going to be segmented, how your remote sites are really going to work, how your servers are going to be protected, how your internet facing websites are going to be protected, how your DevOps really have to work. Okay? So this was a kind of exhaustive list of initiatives and actions that was identified. So the first thing we did is that we can't do everything together. So we broke it down into 3 phases. So phase 0, something has to be done immediately, and that was done 2 years back. Phase 1 kicked in for next 5 to 6 months. Phase 2 thereafter, and we were in the completion of phase 3, which was, mind you, was nice to do, not necessary. It is good to prepare yourself for the future, but first phases basically were must do, which is there with a level of urgency. So we did everything, and that program included right from upgrading the antivirus to changing some of the firewalls, segmenting the network to be able to avoid any lateral movement of any intruder. And very, very importantly, I mean, those list of initiatives are quite a lot, and let me not go into that because that's one set of technical enablement or fortification which is there. But I think at the end of every cyber compromise is a person, people. So we also ran very intense awareness programs, training programs, and flyers, postcards, videos, to the extent that we started a campaign with a logo called Suraksha. It's called SW Suraksha, Sterling Wilson Suraksha, with a mascot, and that became a very familiar sign for everybody. And people are reminded of the fact that you got to be very alert. So that is, I think that made a lot of difference. So people see any phishing mail, any suspicious mail, believe me, in 99.99%, they just they just get in touch with the security operating center and say that, hey, I think I have something suspicious. So I think that is working very well. During pandemic, what we did is that our frontline IT service engineers became our ambassadors for IT security also. So while they were solving a problem, they also said, can I take 5 minutes more and ask you what Wi-Fi you're using, what authentication has been put in your Wi-Fi? Are you using the company laptop, or I mean, for some people who are not able to actually pick up the laptop, we allowed them to use their own machines, use your own machine, which is, so they were also told how to get a minimum level of antivirus to be installed, and we guided them through certain products which are good. We make sure they are using VPN access and so on and so forth, which is there. So I think these were the tenets of our IT security measurements which are there. And touch wood, so far, absolutely no incident that has really happened. Of course, there are plethora of phishing mails, as you know, that keeps happening. But our Windows security and Outlook security is also strong enough to junk and stop most of those mails right at the beginning, which is there.
All right. When you are saying that you are working from home, your workers are also at home and working from remote office environment, it means that you have already gone into the journey of digital transformation. You have already quite a bit into digital transformation. So a digital transformation journey without cloud computing, without some sort of automation is incomplete. It cannot happen actually, unless you have elasticity in your data center. So if you can let me know about a little bit on the on your infra side, on your data center side, is it on-prem or hosted or cloud? Will be really nice a learning for others also.
Very, very good question. And I think it's one of the favorite question I love to answer, the strategy that we have adopted over the past few years is that we have progressively moved all our on-premise data center on cloud. Either it's a private cloud or it's a public cloud, but basically it is on cloud, which is there. Also, the further IT investments which took place in new applications and technologies, we went for the public cloud straight. Okay. So we did not, went through the take it on premise and then move it. I said, no, I think good enough. These are all very, very standard and very robust offerings. So we went straight on the cloud, which is there. So having said that, we have some small, kind of infra which is left out on premise, which is there. So before the lockdown happened, we actually went through a complete brainstorming in terms of what can go wrong there and how should be the SOP, how should be the response that has to take place. And believe me, there's not a single person in office, uh, but we had problems. It'll be, it'll be dishonest to say that we didn't have a problem. We had problems, but we also had the remote monitoring tools and correction tools to be able to take care of that. And on a couple of occasions, we actually had to take a permission to send service engineer from the OEM to be able to go there and fix the problem. But this all without any downtime. So, so we also have made a plan to move whatever is left out on premise to cloud, just to make sure that we don't even go through that. So we'll be a completely cloud-based, IT infrastructure in 6 months from now.
Excellent.
I'm saying 6 months because there's a physical movement involved, and we must allow that kind of a time in view of the lockdown restrictions which are there. So few months we'll be completely on cloud.
Yeah, now I'm hearing a lot from the CIOs, not only from India, but from outside, because through CIOTV.live, I'm in touch with CIOs from Middle East and Africa, so also Asia Pacific, Singapore, Australia. Now, the one thing everybody is echoing, that budget is a constraint, even though their projects, they had their projects planned up, but due to the budget constraint, either they are truncating the project or something or other going on. So those which are ongoing projects, but future projects also, that is the budget is impacting. Are you also kind of facing the same thing? How are you planning to give more with a less? When I say give more with a less means take less money and give more to the management.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very, very relevant topic because we live in the world of limited resources and pandemic has actually shrunk those resources even more, which is there. Having said that, we actually went live on multiple projects during the lockdown. Our first large global rollout of a safety and human safety and environmental, which got rolled out in I think 15 countries together, went live in beginning of April, just when the lockdown had just started off. We went live on our very large HRMS application, which is a transformation, on 20th of July. We have carried out multiple rollouts during this time. So existing projects where the investments were already done did not stop. In fact, we quickly jumped into the project delivery cycle, which was remote, and we just made sure that people are not, kind of dispirited, not demotivated because there's no physical togetherness which is there. So having said that, we have got all our investments go live during this time, which is there. For the future, it is going to be very, very tough in terms of any CIO to say that I want to invest into this. I don't think that's going to happen so easily. Not that it happened easily in the past also, not for my company at least, but it's going to be far more risk which is there. I think there are 2 or 3 important points which are there. Number one is that how sound is your budgeting exercise? Do you have a budget at all, which was already, kind of sanctioned and you are, kind of executing it? Budget gives you a baseline, and that baseline is not just about the financial budget. It tells you about why a certain initiative was required. What is the business pain? What is the urgency? What is the inevitability of getting into that? Okay, that gives you a very clear benchmark in terms of priorities which are there. Second very important thing is that what has really changed in terms of COVID, where certain low priority items have become high priority and certain high priority has become low priority. Because something that I had assumed that, oh, this can't be digitized, so I need to have workaround solution, etc. I think gone are those days. We really don't require those workarounds anymore, which are there. At the same time, certain things to focus on productivity and better transparency and controls have actually taken a center stage now. So you need to really reprioritize and find out, very importantly, what is the best economic means of actually implementing that. Because what also has happened with pandemic is that many of the OEMs have become more innovative and they are willing to actually let you take on certain IT initiatives with very attractive, financial packages. Either it is that you just get on, use it free for few months, then pay if you like it. Other thing is that you can actually have a staggered payment. You don't pay now, you can pay later. So I think for those which are absolutely inevitable initiatives, you must sit with your OEMs and partners and try to negotiate. And I think everybody is willing to help each other today. It is everybody is trying to see that demand has to be, kind of uh, has to rise again with each other. Um, so I would put certain things which are very important. I think IT security you cannot compromise.
Right.
So you must give the priority for IT security, because if you don't have a proper security, then you're doomed in a case. You are actually taking unmitigated risk, which can just make your organization go down the hill very, very fast. Anything that gives you return on investment, I think that ROI calculation of the business case is going to be far more important. You can't do it just to feel good or nice to have it or some cost because you need to have it. I think tough questions are going to come that way. But if you have a very clear return on investment in terms of productivity, in terms of saving certain cost, turning around the process time to much smaller, periods which are there. And very importantly, what can plug your wastages are going to be very, very important softwares. And I'm sure any company that is going to be investing will definitely look at returns and then only invest. I don't think there'll be any dearth of investment approvals for that. However, having said that, we must look at it not as an IT initiative. We have to look at it from a 360 degrees. There are going to be process changes. There are going to be people changes. There are going to be challenges in terms of data. There will be challenges in terms of your partner ecosystem getting used to those kind of changes, etc. So you must look at it holistically, and I think then only your business case can become stronger and can actually get you the returns what you're promising. So having said that, my only submission is that yes, the budgets are going to be tougher, but for a deserving IT initiatives, I don't think it should stop and get innovative.
All right. So is it that the CIOs need to put another cap? One cap they have the IT leader cap, CIO, or head IT cap. The other is the business leader cap, because there is no business leader except the CEO. So do you think that the CIOs or IT leaders need to put, forget about unlearn the CIO bit and wear the cap of business leaders so that you can understand, imagine what is the business requirement of the organization. Accordingly, he manages.
I think yes, a CIO must share, the table of business leaders with other functions, whether it's a CEO, it is a CEO or CFO. Because unless a CIO understands the business pains and opportunities which are there, IT strategy is going to be more technical in nature. And today, believe me, those days are gone when you could be just a technical expert and get on with that. Today, there are young kids from business who are so tech savvy. They can actually come and tell you, give you a solution which is you're not even thought about it. And it's always a pleasant surprise to say that someone comes and says that, you know what, there's an application which can do this. Can we look at it? Beautiful. Welcome, please. Something that can give you quick results, cut down the cost, and be very scalable, flexible, adaptable. Yes, why not? So technical domain is no longer IT's, prerogative anymore. Gen Y is very smart. I mean, kudos to young, people who are coming to organization. They're so full of ideas and awareness of IT. It is going to be increasingly difficult just to say that no, we'll do only this way. So as a reciprocation, I think CIOs can really have a, I would say a meaningful contribution to the organization if they can actually understand the business. And that's, I think, set apart, let's say someone who's an infrastructure lead or an application lead and a CIO. I think the difference is that C stands for a change. I stands for innovation. So if you're not actually able to do some change and innovations which are there, then you're not contributing the full potential. And to understand what is required to be changed, to understand what innovation can help the business, I think you must know the business. You must know the business. You must know the culture of the organization, which is very important. You must know the people. And, and I think CIO must become a trusted advisor to the business, not just an advisor, but a trusted advisor. What will work, what will not work.
Mm.
So how EPC as a segment is different from BFSI or from telecom.
Mm.
You must understand, this business. So I think CIOs are actually donning many caps. In last few years, there was a distinction which is coming in terms of becoming a chief digital officer, chief CISO, CIO, CTO. A lot of caps were kind of being generated. I think pandemic has taught a very important lesson is that you can't just delegate some of these jobs to, and you can fragment your jobs in that a digital officer will think in a different way and CTO will think in a different. No, data all has to converge. So I think a CIO has to not only wear those 7 colored hats which are there, but also must know the business as good as I would say other functional leads, other functional heads like supply chain or finance or HR. I think this is what I think role demands out of the CIOs.
Okay, the other thing is that customer experience, which these days we are calling as CX, like the way DX is digital transformation, CX is for customer experience. Now, most of the banking sectors are adopting bot services very aggressively, chatbots on the front, robotics, RPA kind at the back end, in your ERP level, CRM level, so that the regular job gets done by the robotic process. So are you into any kind of customer experience exercise? Are you planning to do implement kind of chatbots to your digital journey, website or any kind of manifestation to the customers?
Very good question. So between B2B and B2C, there's a slight difference in the sense that the B2B customer ecosystem is slightly different from B2C, like a BFSI or for telecom, which tends to have really a good CX strategy, which is there. B2B also has a CX strategy, and there's no doubt about it. However, it is not coming to a chatbot or kind of. There far more serious liaisoning that happens before, in fact, you enter any B2B customer, which is there. So we have invested quite a lot on our CRM application, the technology which is there, to make sure that our face to the customer is consistent, it is responsive, and very importantly, we are leveraging the full potential of cross-sell and upsell, which is there. Because we are a multi-division company, and many times the customers may be the same for different divisions, and we have created that internal transparency to all the stakeholders to make sure that the customer 360 degrees. So what all initiatives which are going on, what projects that customer is willing to, etc., which is there. However, all these things are very important for our internal customers, which are our people, our employees, and the other stakeholders which are there, like the vendors, the subcontractors, also our bankers, investors, etc., which is there. So there we have a lot of initiatives which have been launched. I spoke about the HRMS platform which has been launched, which has a lot of interaction and self-service features which have been implemented. We are actually going to be implementing chatbot the moment the first phase settles down, and we have which we are expecting in next few months, which are there. And so those chatbots will not only help people to navigate through the system, but also in general can be a very engaging medium in terms of transacting a lot of important this etc., which is there. We are also looking at RPA in many of the transaction processing, like bill passing, bank reconciliation, and very importantly, some of those accounting transactions which require a lot of judgment today, which is there. So that again is something which is on the roadmap, and we should be getting into that.
All right. A last question for you. What is the kind of advice you have for the budding CIOs or even people in your peer group? Probably some are struggling for something or other.
I would say, it'll be, I would not call it an advice because I don't think that I'm in a position to really give advice to anybody. There's always a opportunity to learn, and I would share my experiences that, see, it's very important that in a pandemic like COVID, if there are challenges which are coming, I think you have to find the solutions, and you have to find the solutions very quickly. And that would mean many times you have to get up and say that, sorry, we overlook this. So first and foremost, I think let's not deny that there's a problem. And second is that I think rally the help around you with, even for IT functions, there are a lot of non-IT, disciplines which can really help you to get over certain problems which are there. Find a solution, and once we have found a solution, do a root cause analysis to what caused it and fix it so that it doesn't happen again. Because in a situation like current pandemic and lockdown, one issue can trigger so many issues and it can really cause a havoc, which is, so plug it immediately. But at the same time, I think on a slightly longer term, let us use this time to re-strategize our IT. Let us rethink our cloud journey, our journey to digitize, our journey to really get collaborative, platform within the company and outside the company also, because it has become very important to get your vendors, your service providers all together as one single platform. And lastly, I think I would say focus on your own function, because many times within IT, though we are supposed to be the harbingers of the change and the digitization which is there, many times our own processes are quite dated. And we must look at our own house also and make sure that we have all of that digitized, automated, and focus on productivity. Because productivity in IT is going to be far, far important. India as a country has actually enjoyed the the labor arbitrage to the full extent, because we are that way is a very affordable economical country. And many times we overlook productivity because of that and efficient processes. But I think we must focus on these internal, I would say, housekeeping also, and make sure that IT becomes the most modern function by itself. Not only just a technology that reduces, but how we use our own process should really set up those benchmarks within the organization.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Manoj, for speaking to CIOTV.live. It's absolute pleasure to have a conversation with you around so many tenets, so many perspectives about IT and what is going to happen in the future as well. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.